Everyone, good afternoon. My name is Billy Cross. I'm your MLA for Seine River. On behalf of the Manitoba government, we acknowledge that we're gathered on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Niniwak, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. Since time immemorial, Indigenous matriarchs have been a source of strength at the heart of our families, communities, and nations across these lands. Women are water carriers. They carry the water that gives life. We honor the waters and the women who have carried that sacred responsibility across generations. Today, as we gather in support of women and children building safer communities and futures, we do so mindful that this work is part of an older story. For millennia, women on these lands have protected life, held communities together, and created paths forward for those who came after them. For all of us who now call Manitoba home, we share a responsibility to stand with these women as they build lives of safety, dignity, and independence. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today to witness a historic announcement. To begin, please help me welcome Elder James Nelson from Roseau River First Nation, who will offer us an opening prayer through the pipe.
signifies change, and then kids benefit from it. My family benefits from it. So it makes them strong. That's all they knew since they were growing up. In our way. I didn't grow up like that. But now it's part of me. So I say that much. are things that make this work. These kind of things. Prayer goes on to everybody here. And you might find something that will help you with your, whatever you're looking for. Whatever you're doing. My prayer is that. That's what that's awesome. Sincere ask. Thank you very much for your time.
I know you don't like being called elder, but thank you, Elder Nelson, for starting us off in a good way, sharing your song, sharing your pipe and your prayer with all of us. What a powerful way to start today. Now, we have someone who has been working tirelessly to support families and strengthen communities across Manitoba. Through her work, she has been a strong advocate for programs and services that help families thrive and ensure Manitobans have the support that they need. Please join me in welcoming the Minister of Families, Nahanni Fontaine.
Okay, Anine, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here in Winkler today with our Premier, community partners, and the dedicated team at Genesis House for this important announcement. Minowayak, All Women Doing Well, is Manitoba's strategy in the advancement, empowerment, safety, and protection of Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit, and gender-diverse relatives. Minowayak supports community-led and culturally grounded initiatives, honoring identity, strengthening belonging, and creating positive, safe environments where Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit, and gender-diverse relatives can live safely, heal, and thrive. Today, we are seeing that vision come to life through historic investments, strengthening Manitoba's response to gender-based violence, and building the infrastructure women and families deserve. I am pleased to announce today our government's $2.4 million capital investment in support of Clearwater Place, a new transitional housing complex with 25 units and 57 beds for women and children leaving gender-based violence. Clearwater Place is part of a broader commitment to strengthen Manitoba's network of transitional housing and safe spaces. This project builds on other Minowayak housing investments, including 8 new transitional housing spaces through the North End Women's Centre, and additional 24/7 safe spaces being developed here in Winnipeg and in Thompson, so across Manitoba. To date, our government has invested $60 million through Minowayak, one of the most significant investments Manitoba has ever made in the safety, protection, and empowerment of Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit, and gender-diverse relatives. Minowayak also complements our work under the National Action Plan to End Gender-Based Violence. Through our 4-year bilateral agreement, GBV NAP has invested $22 million, matched through provincial investments to strengthen prevention, improve services for survivors, and continue building the coordinated infrastructure and supports that communities need across Manitoba. These investments represent more than just projects. They represent long-term commitment to a stronger, more coordinated system of safety, prevention, healing, and support for women, children, and families across Manitoba. Miigwech to Angela, Executive Director for Genesis House, for your leadership and service. It's an honor to sit in so many spaces with you, and I do really value your leadership and the role that you play in the protection of all women here across Manitoba. So miigwech to you. Miigwech to all of the staff and board members and community partners at Genesis House, whose dedication and vision has made Clearwater Place possible. Miigwech to my Premier, the Premier of Manitoba, for all of the support that he always gives towards Miniwawayaki and GBV NAP. I'm honored to sit here today with you and to have this joint announcement. And so let me just say this, that together we're advancing a future where all women, girls, two-spirit and gender diverse peoples can live safely with dignity, belonging, and opportunity. And that is our sacred commitment as government to the people of Manitoba. Miigwech.
Thank you, Minister, for your support and your dedication. Now, please welcome the Premier of Manitoba, the Honourable Wab Kinew.
Hey, bujuga kana wiacha bwaga gigito ananonde migwachuya oegichi aya kedash shkabe wasak mishugodash nenanakamag ogwe anishina beka abachi agwa oebe jikpwagan toegan shishigwanake migwachmino the kid. So I just want to acknowledge the elder, who's not an elder. Elder in the language, how I refer to him in Ojibwe, which is my first language, the language of Roseau River. The word in our language literally translates to like a great being. So it's like it's got a nice connotation to it maybe. So maybe you won't cringe when I say it that way. It's a very stylish being is what I said there. So we're very proud to announce our government's $2.4 million commitment to Genesis House. And I wanted to be here today because I know that this has been a long time coming. Even for us, like doing the press conference has been a long time coming. We know that the funding arrangements were put together, but finally, we came down, we're able to make this important investment and ensure that more people in the community are going to be safe. So congratulations to the team at Genesis House. As a dad, I know that our first responsibility is to protect kids. And as a Premier, I know that the safety of all in the community is one of the government's basic responsibilities. And that is a good reminder to walk in here to the City Hall at Winkler and to see the police service as a reinforcement of that. So I also just wanted to take the opportunity to maybe tie what we're doing here to the broader conversation that's going on politically in North America. People say, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files. And then might turn around and say something negative about this or something negative about MMIWG. And I think that that's wrong. If you say release the Epstein files, then you should support the red handprint. You should support MMIWG. You should support the work of Genesis House because that was a very terrible situation happening with the elites around the world. But unfortunately, there are similar, very terrible situations happening right here in our own province and in many of our own communities. So it's easy to stand up against some of the bad guys in the elite class, but we also need to maintain that same solidarity, that same commitment to standing up against violence, to standing up against trafficking, and standing up against people who want to exploit children and women. So let's work together and make sure that that rhetoric that's happening at the high level, rightfully so, is backed up by important action and investments here in the community. And our government was challenged in this way coming into office about searching the landfill. Were we going to do it? Were we not going to do it? We did it. I'm very honored that we were able to bring Morgan and Mercedes home to their relatives. And in my mind, it's all the same thing. The same reason that you would search the landfill is the same reason that you would invest in Genesis House, because you believe in the dignity of women. You believe in the value of every member of our community, including the little kids who unfortunately sometimes have to grow up seeing some very difficult things. So in some ways it's a sobering message, but hopefully I'm bringing it forward in a way that's positive and constructive for the community. Sometimes we have to just take that step back, look at the situation that we're surrounded with and ask ourselves, what are we going to do to ensure that the next generation, what are we going to do to ensure that women and girls in our community are going to be happy, healthy, and reach their full potential. So I'm so glad that we have amazing partners in the community to make that a reality. We've got the funding streams and we got the programs, but it's you on the front lines who bring it to life. So let's work together to ensure that more women and girls and kids in Manitoba live long and happy lives. Miigwech Bizindawi. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Premier, for your leadership and your words. It's a pleasure to serve alongside Minister Fontaine and the Premier. We're really lucky to have them in our province and the things that you do. So thank you. Next, we have someone who will truly see the impact of this funding. So please welcome the Executive Director of Genesis House, Angela Braun.
Sorry, no worries. Oh, there they are, my glasses. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for coming. Thank you to the City of Winkler for hosting us. I would like to acknowledge and thank Elder James Nelson for his opening prayer, Mavis Antoine and Clifford French, who accompanied him, which will start us off in a good way today. It is with joy that I welcome you all here today. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Premier Kinew, Minister Fontaine, and as well the team at Wage and everyone who believed in this project from the beginning. Today is much more than a funding announcement. Today is a statement that women and children escaping violence deserve the opportunity to rebuild their lives with dignity, stability, and hope. Every year, Genesis House serves hundreds of women and children who have made the most difficult decisions of their life to leave abuse. While emergency shelter provides immediate safety, we have long known that recovery does not happen in 30 days. Healing takes time. Building a new network of support takes time. Saving for permanent housing takes time. And helping children recover from trauma takes time. Until now, too many women have faced the impossible choice: return to an abusive home or face homelessness because there simply wasn't affordable, supportive housing available. That is why today matters. This $2.4 million investment from the Miniwak Fund is not simply funding for a building, it's an investment in futures. It's an investment in children who will sleep peacefully without fear. It's an investment in mothers who can focus on healing instead of wondering where they'll be living next month. It's an investment in breaking the cycle of violence for generations to come. Clearwater Place will provide safe, deeply affordable homes where women and children can remain for up to 2 years, or maybe longer. We're not 100% sure, while receiving the supports they need to move forward towards independence. This is housing with purpose. Residents will have access to a wide range of trauma-informed supports, including individual counseling, advocacy, safety planning, parenting support, financial literacy, employment and educational assistance, life skills development, cultural and community connections, children's programming, and personalized goal planning. Every service will be delivered through a lens of cultural safety, humility and respect, recognizing and honoring each person's identity, experiences, traditions, and strengths. Wrapped in culturally safe, relationship-based care, these supports are designed to help women and children heal from trauma, rebuild confidence, strengthen independence, and create safe, healthy, and violence-free futures. We know that housing alone doesn't end homelessness, and it does not end violence, but support does, community does, and hope does. This project has been many years in the making. Thinking back to COVID, this is one of the dreams that came out of that time. There were moments when it felt impossible. There were countless meetings, feasibility studies, funding applications, rejections, community conversations, architectural drawings, and more architectural drawings, partnerships, and moments when we simply refused to give up because we knew the women in our communities deserved better. I want to recognize our incredible board members, there are some of them in the room today, for their unwavering leadership, courage, and belief in this vision. To the staff of Genesis House, thank you. Every day you guys witness extraordinary resilience from the women and children we serve. Your compassion has shaped every part of this project. Your belief in me has made Clearwater Place possible. To the team actually building Clearwater Place, Carrie Cowenhofen, the University of Winnipeg Renewal Corporation 2.0, XOYO and Sputnik Architects and Boxtel Construction, many thanks for walking with me along this very steep learning curve. To our community partners, chambers of commerce, municipalities, businesses, foundations, donors, and volunteers, this building belongs to all of you. Your encouragement, expertise, and generosity have helped make today possible. A special heartfelt thank you to Nancy and Melvin Clearwater. Thank you for entrusting us with your family's name and allowing it to become part of a place that will offer safety, healing, and new beginnings for generations of women and children. We are deeply honored that the Clearwater family legacy will be forever connected to a place where lives will be transformed. And finally, I want to sincerely thank Minister Fontaine. Thank you for recognizing that addressing gender-based violence requires more than an emergency response. Thank you for investing in prevention and recovery. Thank you for believing that every family deserves the opportunity to heal in a safe place to call home. And thank you for entrusting us with these resources through the Miniwek All Women Doing Well Fund. To the women who will one day live here, whether you are listening today or arrive months from now, I want you to know this building was created with you in mind. It was built because your life matters, your children matter, your dreams matter. You are not defined by the violence you have experienced. You deserve safety, you deserve stability, you deserve hope. This community believes in your future. Thank you for everyone who can make this a reality.
Thank you so much, Angela, for sharing your perspective and sharing your heart with all of us. It's clear how much this means to you. So thank you for that. That concludes our announcement for today, folks. Thank you to all of our speakers and everyone who joined us today. We will now open the floor to questions from the media.
Alors, nous sommes très fiers d'être ici pour investir dans la communauté. Ce projet de Clearwater Place va supporter des femmes, des familles, des enfants qui ont un besoin, mais aussi qui ont une opportunité de vivre une vie mieux qu'on a vécu jusqu'à ce point-ci. Alors, en tant que le gouvernement du Manitoba, nous sommes très, très contents d'avoir un partenariat avec Genesis House et puis avec la communauté ici à Winkler, le Pembina Valley. Et puis, dans l'avenir, nous continuerons de bâtir ensemble un Manitoba où chaque enfant compte, où chaque femme a l'opportunité de vivre leur propre vie.
Are there any other questions at this time for the Premier or Minister Fontaine? For Zoom. Is there a question on Zoom?
Thank you. Yes, we have 3 reporters on Zoom. Up first from Global, Melissa Ridgen. Melissa, 1 question, 1 follow-up, please.
Hi, this is for Premier Kinew. I'm just wondering if he would like to share with us his reaction to the counter-tariffs and the business supports that the federal government announced today.
Yeah, for sure. And Billy as well, if you want to join us up here. I think it's important to show a united response as we're dealing with the Trump tariff threat. So the economic impact of Trump's tariffs is one that is going to be very jagged in Manitoba and across Canada. You could potentially have some businesses that are going to feel a deep impact, and then another business right next door where it might just be business as usual. And so what we've seen from the federal government so far is encouraging. We have to stand up for our sovereignty, our independence, our freedom as Canadians. At the same time, we have to have supports there that are going to help those businesses that are going to bear the brunt of being caught up in an unjustified trade war launched by the U.S. So we're very supportive of the federal government's approach so far. We're very united as Team Canada across all the provinces and territories, and we look forward to being able to being consistent with our values so that when the winds of change blow politically south of the border, we can get back to the constructive relationship we're all used to having with our American friends and family. And excuse me. Then maybe I'll just add, here in Manitoba, the Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation Department, led by Minister Moses, is studying what the federal government has offered today, and we'll be rolling out, excuse me, our tariff response in the coming days to assist businesses in Manitoba as well. So likely you'll see BMTJC working with the Department of Agriculture and a few other government ministries to ensure that business continues in Manitoba, working people continue showing up at the jobs each and every day to grow the economy and make this place one that we're all so proud of.
Thanks for that. I'm curious, is there something that in particular you'd like to see any other premiers doing right now? Things they should be doing, like steps taking towards the Americans right now?
I think all of us as premiers are reaching out to our counterparts, governors, other leaders at the state level, certainly done so over the past week, and just making the case that trade with Canada is good for your state. Trade with Canada and trade with Manitoba benefits the people who vote for you. We know that in about 10 weeks, Americans are going to have midterm elections. And if Donald Trump continues on the path that he's on now, there's definitely going to be some change in American politics after that 10-week period. So we know that our issue is with the Trump administration's tariffs. Our issue is not with the American people. American people are still our friends, they're still our family members in many cases, and we want to continue building those relationships. And I know that all the other premiers in Canada feel the same way.
Up next from the Free Press, Gabby Pichet.
Hi, also a couple questions for the Premier. Given the Trade Council's meeting yesterday, what did you hear about like supports that business leaders would like to see? And yes, is that what will be implemented going forward?
Yeah, we had a great meeting yesterday, very constructive. You had voices from every region of the province, every sector of the economy, including some who are right in the crosshairs of Donald Trump. I'm thinking of like the steel sector, and then others who are maybe just trying to keep their head down, if you will, and stay out of all of the ruckus. We also had the voices of labor and some community voices present. And I think what we heard is we have to be there to support business. We also have to be there to support workers. So what we've seen from the Government of Canada today, it does have business supports, but it also has changes to the EI program, which would go directly to workers. And I think it's important to have that balance, and you'll probably see us moving in a similar way as the province of Manitoba, because absolutely, we have to keep the corporate sector moving along. But if there are the impacts on the actual workers and the people on the front lines, we have to make sure that we don't leave those folks behind either.
In terms of the individual supports, like I imagine grocery store prices will rise, that kind of thing. Do you have any more details you could share about what you're looking at for the individual workers?
Well, to your first point there, I would say buy Canadian. If you buy Canadian honey right now, the prices are not going to be rising. If you buy products from Canadian dairy producers and from others who are being targeted right now, you're going to be able to not only support our country and to support people in the ag sector who contribute to our economy as the backbone here in Manitoba, but you're also going to be able to show your national pride and push back against this unwarranted attack on us. So I think whether you look at it as an affordability initiative or you look at it as a way to support our economy here, buying local always makes sense. It makes even more sense right now. And when we're talking about the provincial programs, yeah, we'll have more details to come in the coming days.
And closing things off from Canadian Press, Ian Bickus.
Thanks for taking my questions and congratulations on the center. I also have questions about trade. Just on talking about Buy Canadian and the importance of really interprovincial trade, what are you doing or what would you like to see other premiers do to boost the interprovincial trade front given these latest pressures?
Well, if we have more trade east to west, it can help to offset some of the north-south tensions that we're seeing right now. Manitoba is lucky. We've been a leader for years now at breaking down trade barriers. And so Minister Moses, who is the lead on this file, is going to be meeting with his counterparts, including Minister LeBlanc from the federal government later this week. And Minister Moses has a mandate to take down those trade barriers. We were the first to do direct-to-consumer alcohol. We were the first to take off so many of the various trade barriers across the economy, and now we're just out there with a warm and hearty handshake, encouraging all the other provinces and territories to do the same thing. If we trade more within Canada, it's going to make for a stronger economy here at home.
Excellent. And then Alberta Premier Smith has said she wants Ottawa to go back to negotiations before the counter-tariffs take effect. Do you think that's a good idea to keep trying to talk before the tariffs come?
Yeah, I think it's always a time to negotiate and engage. But I think Canada is showing the rest of the world right now that you don't have to take a knee. You don't have to bow down. You can be proud, you can have backbone, and you can stand up for your own economy and your own jobs. And I'm proud of our country right now. I'm proud of Canadians' response right now. But of course, we wouldn't be Canadians if we weren't still willing to sit down and hash out some disagreements and to come to a reasonable agreement on the other side of that. But we don't want to compromise our values along the way. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but it's always the hope that we're going to be able to sort through these things. Maybe the president just has to take an L in the midterms before he sees the writing on the wall.
Thank you.
And that's it for Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Premier, you say coming days you'll be able to have specifics. Is that tomorrow? Is that this week? Is that September? When will be tangible and specific in terms of Manitoba's support, workers and businesses?
We've already heard a lot from our government initiatives that we've rolled out, and so probably later this week you'll see an additional announcement.
Right here in Winkler and Morden, there are businesses that buy U.S. steel, and the counter-tariffs today will affect them. What would you have to say to them, and what would you be offering them to stabilize their businesses at this time?
Yeah, I think this is part of what our government is doing right now, is reaching out to folks who are impacted. You know, the Department of Ag is reaching out to producers, whether that's in the dairy sector. Honey has been in the media quite a bit recently. But when we talk about steel, the inputs, what we need to understand is that the actions that are being taken today are to make sure that we don't have a situation where Canadian companies are facing a disadvantage in the States at the same time that an American company could sell into Canada without facing any similar sort of barrier. So it's really about leveling the playing field. I'm sure there's going to be lots of economists and experts out there saying like, oh yeah, you know, this blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line is this: none of this would be happening if Donald Trump didn't start this tariff war. So if you want to point the finger at Trump. And in the meantime, we'll be there to continue working to keep the economy moving. The thing about Canadians, the thing about our economy, and this is why I say there's going to be a jagged impact, because again, some firms that you talk to are going to feel that very big impact. The Canadian economy is a lot stronger than I think even we realized, but certainly even Donald Trump realized. He launched a trade war, verbally at least, something like 18 months ago now. We in government, we see the tax receipts, we see the job numbers, we see the investments. Manitoba's economy has grown in spite of Donald Trump launching this trade war. And I think that is going to continue. So absolutely, those folks who are on the front lines and are in the crosshairs, they're going to feel the jagged edge of that jagged impact. And we're going to ensure that the federal government supports, our provincial government supports help them. But at the same time, we have to have a steady hand. And we have to know that our response can't just be erratic off the latest thing that the president is tweeting. Like, today, not his best work. And while we're speaking Ojibwe here, I think actually the real name for Lake Ontario is Mississauga again, which is where the word Mississauga comes from. But I digress.
Thought process you could play regarding the tariffs?
OK. Alors, les tarifs douaniers qu'on a vus annoncés par le gouvernement du Canada aujourd'hui sont nécessaires. Sont nécessaires à cause du fait que M. Trump a lancé une attaque vers le Canada. Alors, ça, c'est un équilibre qu'on doit faire, mais je pense que c'est toujours important de se souvenir que si M. Trump arrête son attaque sur le Canada, on pourrait supporter l'économie et on pourrait arrêter les tarifs douaniers que le gouvernement fédéral a ajoutés. Mais ça, c'est la situation qu'on voit. Alors, jusqu'à ce temps-là, on va continuer de supporter l'économie manitobaine et puis d'appuyer les travailleurs, travailleuses et puis les compagnies dans la province.
Premier, with regards to the council, the trade council meeting yesterday, I know you said just now that it's important to keep conversations going with the United States and the negotiations, but are you guys really planning for the long haul here and looking
100%.
6 months ahead, a year
No,
ahead?
2. Donald Trump he was duly elected. He's got 2+ years left. I can tell you that the conversation with the Prime Minister has been to prepare for 2+ years and ensure that programs that we have in place here in the economy are a bridge past the Trump administration. At some point, the American people will see how damaging this presidency is to their cost of living. The Iran war is making all of us pay more at the gas station. The tariffs are making first Americans, but eventually Canadians will feel an impact there too. And this is what? For what reason? What economic rationale? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever unless you were a president who wanted the working person to pay more so that you could give big tariff refunds to the companies and see them not pass the savings down to the consumer. And what's happening in America right now? The American consumer, the average blue collar, average middle class person is paying more at the grocery store, paying more at the pump. Donald Trump is sending out tens of billions of dollars of refunds to the big companies in America, and they're not passing the savings down. So he's only in it for the big people. He plays like he's in it for the little person, but he only cares about the elites. And the sooner Americans, the voting public of America, realize this, the better off the whole world will be. So please, connect the dots.
Just one more question with regards to the council. How difficult is it to, when you're speaking to business leaders, business community leaders, to come up with a cohesive plan when you don't know what's going to happen in a month, 3 months, 6 months? How difficult is that to come up with a cohesive plan moving forward when it's been so erratic over the last 18 months and it very well could continue to be erratic?
It's a really good point. Like, uncertainty is a key barrier to growing the economy and to business being able to function. If you're a business person and you're about to make a $40 million investment, you want to be pretty darn sure that that investment's going to pay off. And right now, with the yo-yo effect, on again, off again, it can definitely make you think twice. But what I have been impressed by in the voices that we heard from the business community, yes, there's absolutely a lot of people making a strong case. We need to get to a deal. We need to get to a deal. We need to get to a deal. But then they'll qualify that and say, but we don't want a bad deal. And so we are seeing for business leaders, and we are hearing from the business leaders, that they do want us to stand up on important issues. Like the news that Prime Minister Carney shared last Friday, that they weren't going to let medium and heavy-duty vehicles qualify for the tariff exemption, that would have hurt Manitoba hard. We've got a lot of people who work in the manufacturing side of the trucking industry where their whole supply chain would be seeing big impacts. Now, there's a threat on January 1, but again, we've got some time to prepare. We've got some time to diversify our trade internationally. We've got some time to knock down interprovincial trade barriers. We've got time to build some big projects here in Manitoba to get ready to keep people working. And I guess that was the other point that we heard from some business leaders, which is I'm not going to say this as pretty as they were saying this yesterday evening, but it was like, if the government is going to invest money, why don't we build roads and bridges and the infrastructure that we need to grow the economy? If the government has to invest money, why don't we pay people to build up the province instead of paying people to stay at home like they did in COVID? So again, these are all perspectives that are going to factor into our response in the coming months.
And just on that note, can you just remind us, collective us, what, if any, supports were provided since the beginning of last year to steel producers?
So we had the tax deferral program. We've also done a bunch of procurement measures, one of which was subject to the negotiations last week. Effectively, because we knew that the Prime Minister was close to negotiating a deal, we sat on a bunch of tenders last week because our language in tenders right now says preference will be given to a Canadian company or non-US. And we were sitting on those tenders because we said, well, if we're going to get to a deal, we don't want to blow the thing up, and we'll change that language. But no deal, no change. So those tenders are going out the door. And that includes us working with some of the steel sector here in Manitoba to figure out how they can fit into government procurement. Doesn't work every single time. I wish it would, but you take the Selkirk steel plant as one example. They can't necessarily retool to meet all the government steel procurement overnight, but it's a work in progress.
Is the gas turbine purchase for Brandon a done deal, or would you look at Siemens, even though it's more expensive?
Well, it's interesting that you would raise that topic. We're building a $3 billion combustion turbine facility in Brandon, just outside of Brandon, actually. And so that's a major procurement opportunity. And I wonder if not just that decision, but the next $30 billion of Manitoba hydro construction that's on the books for the next 20 years, if all of a sudden firms in Trump's America were not eligible for that. I wonder how much attention that would get. So we got to take a look at the fact that Manitoba has a lot of leverage. The provinces, the government of Canada, we've got a lot more leverage than I think we had realized in the past. Sometimes people look for these really big moves, cutting off the power to the states. I don't know about that. But again, what if we made a decision in Manitoba to ensure that we were only going to procure the next $30 billion of public spending on our energy infrastructure from firms located in companies that respect Canada and respect Manitoba business?
Just to be clear, so is the GE purchase a done deal, or is that still up for review?
I wouldn't say it's a done deal. Yeah, we have a good relationship with GE Canada, to be clear, and it's a relationship with GE Canada located in Mississauga, interestingly enough, of all places, that is the reason why we're able to procure these combustion turbines relatively quickly. You'll know that the AI data center boom means that the supply is pretty much sewn up globally. GE Canada is giving us some consideration. So it's a bit of a balancing act. But again, if we're on the verge of spending $3 billion in Brandon for the combustion turbines, we're going to spend $30 billion over the next 2 decades fixing transmission lines and the transformers that take the power from the dam and then run the electron wave down south. I think we'd be wise to make sure that we're going to buy from people who share our economic interests.
Any other question? Yep. Robin Reed, Golden West. Back to the issue of the day. We as reporters, especially in the area, I'm not sure what other areas are seeing this, but we're seeing police reports that often see assaults, domestic violence, and we see people being released. I know that I've talked to the police and say, how does somebody assault somebody and get released and put this woman back in danger? What is the work that's being done that people may not see that your government is doing to change that or to protect these women further?
I'll invite my colleague, Minister Fontaine, to talk about a lot of the important work from Minoiawak that's happening here. But I would say when we look at the Justice Department, we've increased police funding every year in office. We've added officers across Manitoba, which is really important because when somebody in the community does something bad and needs to be held accountable, you need a police officer there to intervene and bring that person into the justice system. That said, we've got a number of initiatives in the provincial institutions to try and rehabilitate, because we don't want to see provincial institutions become gangster university, where somebody goes in and then comes back to the community even more of a problem. So we have those measures that are being taken. And then the third thing that I'd point to are the investments in healthy communities and kids. We heard the term breaking the cycle, which I think is absolutely fundamental. Let's make sure that there's food at school for every single kid, so even the kids facing some tough times have a reason to show up. Let's make sure that the recreation and other opportunities are going to be there so they can have a positive image of what life can be like. And I think it was earlier this year we hosted an Indigenous parenting conference. Again, sometimes we have to focus on addressing the negative that's going on in our communities, but sometimes we got to focus on celebrating the positive. And so that was all about healthy role models of being a dad, healthy role models of mothering, healthy role models of couples and how they sort through disagreements and raise kids, and all these different things that you or I might take for granted, but maybe some other people haven't had the benefit of seeing that type of healthy behavior modeled in the community. So taking initiatives like that on the prevention side, I think, is part of the solution too. But Minister Fontaine has a whole bunch of things she can point to as well.
Miigwech, Premier. So I will also point out that I think Minister Wiebe and I announced maybe last year the electronic ankle monitoring system. So you'll recall that during the PC's time, they announced it and they didn't do anything with it. And so we've invested in that. We announced it. I think we've even announced more support in respect of that program. And if folks don't know how that works, there's actually, for the victim, in most cases women, they have access to an immediate button that either connects you to the police immediately or to the monitoring system, or they will also be notified if that individual is in close proximity. So that is a tangible investment in immediate protection for women if they come into contact or if their abuser comes into contact with them. One of the things that we talk about as government all the time is addressing male violence. I think that for so long, we're not really honest or candid about the epidemic levels of violence against women and children. And so we always talk about and encourage men to take up that responsibility to, address male violence in the community. Alongside that, like I've said, we've invested about $60 million into Minoa-Weaki-Quayak. A lot of the work that we're doing in Minoa-Weaki-Quayak, and a lot of the work that we do in general, when we're talking about gender-based violence or intimate partner violence, a lot of it is always in response to an incident, always. So it's downstream. What we're trying to do in Minoa-Weaki-Quayak is all of the upstream work. So ensuring that we're supporting transitional housing, which again is still downstream, but ensuring that we've got that infrastructure that women and children can go to where they're safe. But we're also investing in women. We're investing in the empowerment and liberation of women, i.e. we're looking at small business grants. We're looking at supporting for schooling. So doing that upstream work, home ownership, all of that. As I stated in my notes, we've got our GBV NAP dollars. That's an investment of $22 million. Some of the things that we fund in that is directly working with young boys and with men in addressing male violence, in addressing the sexual exploitation of women and girls and Two-Spirit. So again, some of that upstream work. We support one organization, Mamaway, it's called their Empower Men program. That Empower Men program goes into schools to talk about male violence, to talk about the sexual exploitation, to talk about gender-based violence. So, our government's response and commitment and dedication to ending gender-based violence and intimate partner violence is quite robust. Again, geographically, it's robust all across Manitoba. But even in the spectrum of supports that we offer, we're looking at the totality of what will eventually ensure that women, all women, are safe and are able to live their best lives and thrive. And I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. And in fact, what I would suggest to folks is that Manitoba, the work that we're doing, no other jurisdiction has a Mino Awayaki Kwayak, none. No other jurisdiction is investing those upstream dollars. We are, and I'm incredibly proud of that work, and you will continue to see the benefits. Let me tell you this. We have invested into 2 24/7 safe spaces in Brandon, Family's Place and Chelsea's House. Since the advent of those 2 24/7 safe spaces, the decline in phone calls to the police missing persons unit for Indigenous women has gone down to almost zero. That's what happens when you have a government that invests in women's safety.
Yeah, because we've seen an increase in our own use of Genesis House with the closure in the Selkirk area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so rural areas are ones not to be forgotten.
Yeah, well, just to be clear, Selkirk is open, right? We've partnered with Ikwe-Wajidowin, and it is open and it's operational. Let me just say this, sorry, I could talk all day about the work that we're doing, so just bear with me. I also want folks to know that since we've assumed government, that our government has brought online almost 292 new beds for support for women and families. I think that there's about 138 that are still in development and 157 or something like that that are operational. So almost 300 beds to a system that Angela can attest desperately needs those beds. Our government has done that.
Any other questions?
Bravo.
Thanks, everybody.
Miigwech.
Well done.